Thank you to LaborFirst for sponsoring today's show of Better Bad Ideas. Let's get into it. I'm Sean O'Brien, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
Put your helmets on, buckle your chin straps. It's a full contact sport.
We're going to find out who has a better bad idea. All right, we're here on Better Bad Ideas. We thought it'd be a better bad idea to have actual people that were at the negotiating table in the historic UPS agreement. We were able to negotiate the best contract ever in the history of UPS, $30 billion deal that gave huge raises to part-timers coming in the door. It also rewarded long-time part-timers. We also got a lot of agreements from the company that improved the lives of many members at UPS, but true to UPS's character. We're 2 years into the agreement, and they are doing nothing but trying to violate this contract left and right. It's getting to a point where there's going to be significant pushback and potential actions taken to make sure UPS lives up to its obligations that they agreed to. And by the way, which was ratified by 86% of our members. So that's significant. The most recent attack or disregard for the intelligence of our members in package car classification is they introduced this bullshit buyout where under the agreement we negotiated, their obligation is to fill 22,500 jobs from the part-time ranks. And those are jobs that are already in existence that would be vacated by retirements, disability, and or terminations. And they also agreed to create 7,500 new full-time jobs by combining two part-time jobs into one. And we know that as 22-3 combination jobs. Lo and behold, they've taken another position and they've announced that they were going to lay off 20,000 people. Now, they've announced layoffs since we ratified this agreement, and those layoffs, most of them have affected management people, and we're okay with that as long as they don't affect our work in Teamsters. Today, we're joined by Peter Alvarado, who's a business agent. Peter worked, I think, part-time, full-time. You were a part-timer. How long have you been a Teamster?
Teamster 32 and a half, 28 and a half was with UPS.
Right. And you were how many years as a full-timer?
Full-time was 26 and a half.
Okay. So you had like a year and a half in part-time?
Yep, 2 years.
Okay.
I believe it
and
was.
you're currently now a business agent for Local 25, and you were on the National Negotiating Committee during these negotiations. And we've got Antonio ChiChi Santana, 24-year Teamster, started out as a part-timer, worked 4 years in part-time on the preload, and then a 20-year package car driver, Stewart, for Local 25. And to my left, we've got Joe Foti. Joe Foti was a long-time part-timer, then a full-timer, and now a business agent at Local 25. How many years you been a Teamster?
32 years this October. Started in 93 part-time, and then actually went full-time in 95. And I started driving out of the Watertown building Back Bay.
So UPS introduced this buyout, and let's see what this bullshit buyout is. All right. Okay. So right here, you can see this. This is a post on social media, but this is reflective of how ignorant and out of touch UPS is. UPS is bribing me and every other driver to quit while full package cars sit in the building without anyone to deliver them. My buyout offer was delivered at 8:45 p.m. because we didn't have enough drivers to service it during the day. Now, UPS took it upon themselves to offer this buyout where they are attempting to buy people's jobs, our members' jobs from them. So for every year of service, you're going to get $1,800. $1,800 with no benefits, nothing else. So they're looking to buy their way out of their obligation. Now, you all drove package car. I never worked for UPS, that white collar crime syndicate that they are. But delivering this at 8:45 p.m. for our listeners, explain the significance of such a late delivery.
Well, I mean, at that point, a lot of people are sleeping. I mean, they don't have anyone to cover the work. So these guys are out there sometimes 10 o'clock at night.
And the start time is at 8:30 in the morning.
8:30.
8:30, between 8:30 and 9, right?
12-hour days.
12-hour days.
13-hour days.
Okay, so in the last agreement, and I think some successor agreements prior to that, we have always had an issue with excessive overtime. And excessive overtime really just affected the package car drivers, or does affect the package car drivers. And we have penalties that now are up to quadruple time if violated going through the process of the contract. Now, hourly rate right now, at the end of this contract, it's going to be close to $50 per hour, right? The hourly rate now is somewhere around $42, $43 an hour, right?
$44.96.
Or $44.96, right? So triple time, which they're paying instead of fixing the problem, that's $120 something an hour. And then quadruple time is well over $160 an hour. So instead of actually fixing the problem, they want to pay you triple and quadruple time, and then also try and buy our members out of their jobs, and then also try and do more work with less people. Yep. Our members are not buying into this bullshit, are they?
No way.
You're a rank and file. You are in the trenches every day. Okay, you see what's going on with the 9-5 and the excessive overtime. And we want to hear from a veteran, ChiChi Rodriguez. What is the opinion of our members as a result of this buyout?
Sean, nobody's taking it. On my building, guys, that is very disrespectful. Like, just sending the letter, it's embarrassed. People like 35 years, they say like, no, this is that's a slap in the face, you know? So they can send any letter they want. They keep sending. No one is taking it.
So who has gotten this letter in your center? Is it the people that have 30 years more seniority? Did everybody get in the package car center?
Sean, everyone, even they are concentrating people that already did 4 years. They're taking it like that. 4 years, guys. So I'm thinking.
Yeah, with a minimum of 10 grand. So think about this. You're not even vested.
Yep.
Right? They're offering you $10,000. And when I say vested, you're not going to be eligible for a pension benefit. You're going to sell your career for $10,000, and then you minus taxes out of that. What are you going to end up with? $5,000?
Exactly.
Grab a couple violations of 9-5. You're going to have $5 grand in your pocket.
Oh yeah. Yep. Agreed.
I mean, what you've been around a long time. We know 30-year members. I got calls when they announced this. You know, what is this all about? I have no idea. This is another scam by UPS to avoid filling jobs. And I'm getting calls every week saying this is bullshit. And these aren't 25-year guys. These aren't 20-year people. These are guys and girls that have 30, 35 years. And myself and Fred, we're in UPS facilities every single week, all different parts of the country. And we haven't heard one positive thing from anybody in there. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite where, to your point, people are pissed off because they work hard, and this is a scam to try and buy the jobs away from them. People are pissed off, and I got to give it to UPS. I love when UPS pisses our members off because it's a morale booster for us as well. What are people saying to you?
100%, Sean. We haven't heard of one person taking it. Matter of fact, Joe and I both received the letters. We sent them back, refused RTS. We would never take it anyways, even though.
What is RTS? Package car driver shows up at your house?
Return to sender.
Return to sender.
Just like Elvis sang. You know?
Right.
But it's a bullshit deal. It's insulting. They should just adhere to the contract. You know, they just want to play games with it.
So some people have said, and I think this is the rhetoric on social media, people look at that and go, well, if you're retiring, you got 35 years, isn't this a good deal? No, it's not a good deal, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell your soul for 50, 60 grand. You're going to get no pension credits. You're going to get no health and welfare credits towards that, which is going to be a problem for the funds, right? UPS in their mind is not going to fill these jobs. And you're basically contributing to UPS's scheme. And at the end of the day, you're going to pay so much taxes on that. You're selling your soul and selling your brothers and sisters out if you take this buyout. I mean, look, the one thing that I love about being a union member, and I've been a union member 35 years, is, you know, everybody preaches solidarity. Everybody preaches, let's stick together. Everybody says, you know, all the right things. But when the time comes and you've got to make this decision, I know what my decision is going to be. I'm not going to be bought for take-home pay of $25,000 regardless. I want to make sure that this next generation understands that Teamsters and Teamster members at UPS are not for sale. And how do you justify buying people out of their jobs or attempting to buy them out of their jobs, which we think is illegal? It's unfair labor practice. But how do you attempt to buy people out of their jobs when you have a massive, massive overtime problem throughout this whole country, where UPS is paying millions upon millions upon millions of dollars because they're keeping people out there 10 and a half, 11, 12 hours, and they're not fixing the problem? Pretty contradicting at best. And I think they're underestimating the intelligence and sophistication of our members to see through this bullshit. What do you think?
They obviously are pissing off the members in the worst kind of way, because they're basically telling them that their worth is 1 week, basically at 40 hours with no overtime for every year of service.
And these are people that have consistently, our members have worked 50 to 55 hours to 60 hours per week their entire career.
There are no members that work under 9.5 hours on a daily basis anymore. It's an extinct creature. Everybody's out there working excessive overtime every week, and it shows and reflected in all the 9-5 grievances we receive. And we hear the same thing on the national side with all the 9-5 issues. It's a staffing issue, plain and simple, Sean.
And staffing issue meaning that if they staff these jobs, if they reduce the overtime like they committed to and agreed to under this contract, there will be no reason to buy people out. There'd be no reason to say that they're going to lay 20,000 people off. And we're not going to allow them to lay 20,000 people off. I mean, this is a company that is, very successful. I think it's a $90 billion per year. A company, it was $100 billion because of the pandemic and everything else. We all know that they wanted out of the Amazon business. And, I deal with UPS on an intimate basis. I have been for 20 years. And they knew all along, and there was no secret in negotiations, that the trajectory of Amazon, because Amazon was creating their own delivery network, which is another scam, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But UPS was on a trajectory down. They knew they were, and they've done nothing to build this business and protect their jobs. As a matter of fact, what they've been doing is building their non-union portfolio of all these other subsidiaries, whether it's Macron or what's the name of it?
MNX is there
MNX as well. They've got Rhodey, where they're shutting down buildings right now, and we are actively pursuing following the work and find out what's going on there. We've had meetings with this company, and they're no different right now in my eyes as Amazon and FedEx.
Yep.
They're actually worse than Amazon and FedEx, and then they want to be our best friends when they need something legislatively at the White House. They want to be our best friends when they can benefit from it. Those days are over. I can remember negotiations when we're attacking UPS on issues, and they would say, well, we can't really say anything bad about Amazon because they're a customer of ours. Well, they're not a customer of yours anymore, so to speak. You've lost the majority of the volume, and you're acting just like them. And then they say to us, well, how's it going organizing Amazon? I'd love to go organize Amazon, and we are working at that. We're making great strides, but now I've got to focus on all the bullshit that you agreed to that you're not delivering on. And why should we go after anybody that's going to benefit you because you're not reciprocating? We asked for card check neutrality with all this new medical companies and these laboratories and Rhodey and UPS Supply Chain Solution, and they claim, well, they're not part of the UPS delivery network, so they're really not part of us, which is a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Without question. That MNX, it says it right on their trucks. UPS owned company.
What's the name of the medical delivery? Margarin or Margarin?
I think
Markin.
Like
a double
Markin.
cab
I seen a
Markin.
Markin truck. It says a UPS company.
UPS company.
And when we asked about them, in writing, we have requests for information. They responded. It's a UPS subsidiary, but it's separate from the package division. Wasn't UPS all one company? Especially when it said, I'm a UPS company. So they have all these diversion and these sneaky shit that they're doing. I'm loving the fact that they want to hide behind or try and masquerade their complete disregard for their obligations.
Yeah, we're catching them left and right with the subcontractors, and in the M&X case, we heard that at the national panel that's going to arbitration. So, we're definitely trying our best to.
I mean, if you remember during negotiations, you both were at the national table. You were rank and file, but you were active, and I think, were you on the supplemental committee in New England?
Not.
No.
Okay, so during negotiations, UPS had this slogan, bigger always isn't better. Okay, now if you remember the UPS 15, 20 years ago, they were threatening our members day in and day out to get sales leads. They were threatening our members that they didn't get enough sales leads and that, they should be getting sales leads. There is not one attempt to engage our members to capture any new business, which they don't have time to capture any new business because they're working 10 and a half, 11 hours. And if we capture new business, it's just going to be more work put on the truck because they're not hiring anybody. They don't have a sales team at all. And what is the future? What is the direction of UPS? We have 300,000 members at UPS, 340,000 members at UPS, where we always bragged when we were comparing UPS to the Amazon scam, the FedEx scam, that, hey, you go to work at UPS because they work under a union contract. There's a career path from part-time to full-time where people can go to work day one and know they're going to be able to retire. I don't think that's the case anymore at UPS.
No, they're service is obsolete now. They don't care about it. They eat packages on a daily basis, so I don't know. It's almost like they're deliberately trying to get rid of the work, and then they don't want to put anyone on and keep people out there all night. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and you walk through these buildings, and the good thing is when we're in a struggle, even though you got people on social media that want to blame the Teamsters for everything, right? You want to blame, well, you didn't get this in the contract. We got 60 non-economic changes. We got arbitration and a provision for technological changes, which we've never had before, which we're fighting every day at this shot and guts. We got a lot of good things in this contract, and we are enforcing this contract. You've never seen a contract campaign so aggressive after you ratify a contract. Historically, after you ratify a contract, you never saw the Teamsters Union out going around the country having coordinated efforts to enforce certain provisions of the contract. And, the criticism is there. But the good thing about UPS pulling this bullshit right now, they don't realize they are making our rank and file members that much stronger. They're uniting our members because they are seeing firsthand when you offer someone some bullshit buyout. And I said this on an interview recently. We're not prostitutes. We don't wear red lipstick and high heels. We're not for sale. And you talk to management people, and I go around the country. Fred Zuckerman, our GST, was awesome. We go around the country every single week, and we're talking to UPS members, and the same opinion is this is bullshit. They shouldn't be doing this. They should be respecting what we're doing, filling the jobs. But more importantly, I talk to management a lot when I'm in those buildings. UPS has a huge morale problem with the management. They know, and I'm talking the management that are on the ground in the trenches, working on the preloads, working as on-car soups, working as building managers, even division managers have come up and said, this is the worst I've ever seen UPS. I can't believe they're doing this to our employees, your members. What's the opinion on the shop floor with management in your building?
Well, Sean.
And by the way, they are the biggest, they are the biggest informants we have.
Oh, yeah.
Management. They are the biggest
The
informants
biggest, yeah.
that we have.
This episode is brought to you by LaborFirst, the leader in healthcare navigation and advocacy for plan sponsors, union members, and retirees. Navigating healthcare isn't easy, especially when it comes to Medicare, and it shouldn't fall on our retirees' shoulders alone. That's where LaborFirst comes in. They work one-on-one with members to help them understand their benefits, resolve issues, and get the care they've earned. From answering tough questions to fixing billing problems, LaborFirst is in your corner every step of the way. No call centers, no runaround, just healthcare advocates who care. LaborFirst was founded by a proud Teamster son and grandson. For over 60 years, his father and grandfather led Teamsters Local 837, now Local 107 in Philadelphia with pride, purpose, and grit. That same union spirit runs through everything LaborFirst does today. Now, hundreds of union health plans trust LaborFirst as a true partner, delivering results, supporting members and retirees, and never forgetting who they're working for. When it comes to protecting what your members have earned, LaborFirst stands with you. Please visit LaborFirst.com to learn more. That's LaborFirst.com. This episode is brought to you by Catches Law Group, proud advocates for injured workers and their families since 1986. If you've been hurt on the job, navigating the workers' comp system can feel like fighting an uphill battle. That's where Catches Law comes in. They've recovered over $3 billion for hardworking people just like you, and they don't back down when your rights are on the line. They know what it means to stand shoulder to shoulder with unions and workers across the country. Because at Catches Law, it's not just about compensation, it's about justice. Learn more at catcheslaw.com. That's KECHES law.com. And I've got to tell you, I've had the privilege to work side by side with Catches Law Group. I know, watching Catches Law, that when we refer injured members or injured workers to their law firm, that they are going to get the best results on behalf of our members. Please check it out at catcheslaw.com. That's KECHES law.com.
They, management, they're not happy. Basically, they feel like they being betrayed, and they're feeling like they want to be Teamster.
Right.
I'm like, listen, you went to the wrong team.
Yeah.
And that's why. And they feel like they waited. Example, South Boston, the building closed, and they didn't tell no one. They didn't say that they was gonna have a job for them. I was the one told them, buddy, you're not gonna have a job. And they start running to the office. Antonio saying this, and they say, Antonio, I don't want you to tell them that. I was like, no, tell them the truth.
Yeah, you have to tell them the truth. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that noble? What a great idea. Let's stop telling people. Let's not tell people the truth.
Yeah.
The people that have worked for you the entire life, people that have left the security of the union, they bought into your fucking bullshit that they're going to have the best job in the world. Let's continue to lie to them.
Yeah, it's agreed, Sean. And I told Peter, my big Peter, they're doing this. Antonio, tell them. We always are about the truth. Yeah. And that's, but they lie so much. And we just laugh because, but they knowing. The management team, they know that they got one of them quit.
What do our members want to do? What do our members want to do right now?
Listen, the members are the members are ready when you're ready. When you tell them let's go strike, the members are ready, Sean. And we like lions.
I mean, we're working under a collective bargaining agreement, but what does 2028 look to us? I mean, think about this. UPS has a huge credibility problem. UPS has a huge credibility problem because everything they said and agreed to in this contract, they're not living up to their obligations. I mean, you look at what's going on in 9-5, and explain to what 9-5 is, Joe, because you're the chairman of the committee.
Simply put, we've had contractual language since 2003 that says any member who signs the list of intent not to go over 9.5 hours will be kept under 9.5 hours per day throughout the entire work week. And when it's violated, now the elevated penalty is quadruple time for all hours in excess of 9-5 after you've been violated 3 days. So you get violated 3 days, you've got 3 days of penalties for everything over 9.5 hours by triple time rate. After an elevated meeting, when you've been violated more than 5 times, and you have a sit down with a business agent and the employee, and you say, hey, enough's enough. Here's what this guy could do for a 9.5 hour day. If you get violated after that, now it becomes a quadruple time, which was, as you pointed out, all the language changes. That was newly negotiated language to increase that penalty. We increased the penalty on the 8-hour request when they violated that. We put in guardrails to make sure our members can do the right thing and say, hey, at the day of dispatch, My 8-hour day is not on the truck. It allows you to pull work off the truck. We never had that before. And then once you hit the road, you tell them at 1 p.m. it's still not enough. They got to come out and take that work off you. And if they don't, now that penalty's increased by double time. And you know what they're doing? They're just saying, we'll eat the money. They don't care. And Sean, in negotiations, they looked across the table and said, why do you guys need that? We don't know of any trouble with guys getting out on 8-hour requests. And we sat across the table and go, the proposal is generated by the members. It's generated because you keep violating.
Well, we had the
them.
data that supported the fact that
Absolutely.
people were working consistently over 9.5 hours. And when you enforced your rights under the agreement, that's when the retaliation started, where people, managers were saying, well, you're not working fast enough. And then, all that bullshit started. But the harsh reality is they cannot afford to cut any jobs. They can't afford to buy anybody out. They should live up to their obligation. I mean, think about 9/5 in Texas right now. Think about 9/5 in Arizona, where we have an agreement that every new vehicle they purchase has to have air conditioning and has to be put in zone 1. And zone 1 is the hottest parts of the country. And to date, they've only replaced 790 package cars, I believe, since the contract was ratified 2 years ago. And this is how fucking smart UPS is. January 15th or middle of January last year, let's call it January 15th, I believe, they delivered 20 to 25 package cars to New York City. The day they deliver, with air conditioning, the day they deliver those cars, it's 15 degrees in New York. And when I brought it to their attention, hey, you delivered 25 new cars to New York, which it isn't even zone 1. Are you going to move them to zone 1? I'll get back to you. Well, that was January. They still haven't got back to me. And those cars are still in New York. I was in New York last week or 2 weeks ago, and those cars are still there. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, instead of saying, I'll get back to you, shit. And we had a lot of dialogue, if you remember. They were trying to figure out how they would buy these new cars because they have a cost structure set up or a budget, and they replace package cars in different areas. So they were concerned that we were going to have a problem with if they bought brand new package cars for zone 2 and they brought the zone 2 brand new cars to zone 1 and backfilled the older cars and put them in a different zone, would have a problem. And I'm like, no, that's what you should be doing. Like, put the vehicles where they are. I mean, the good thing is we do have an agreement on air conditioning, right? Which is going to happen, but it's not happening at the pace that it should be happening. And also, when it does happen, they deliver them to the fucking wrong zones.
They do everything ass backwards now. They really can't make good decisions. Like you said, you point it out, and they probably still haven't moved those cars there.
No, they're not going to move them. And we bought them. Like, it's like, no, you agreed. Zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. We wasted 2 or 3 weeks just on this subject, highlighting it. And it's like, if I was UPS, and I said this to them recently, just fix everything that's wrong. Then you don't have to fucking listen to us. Yeah. Do you think it helps you when the Teamsters Union are out publicly every single day, which we are? We're all publicly doing something, highlighting how deficient UPS management is. And do you think that helps with customers? Do you think that helps with your most important people? In their eyes, their most important people is their stockholders, people who have never even fucking delivered a package. They're more concerned about their stock than they are, and they haven't hit their projected earnings. I think 2 out of the last 3 quarters, if I'm mistaken, but if I am, we'll correct it. But, come on, something's fucking wrong. And look, if something's wrong in our organization, guess who's ultimately responsible for it? The leader. And if something's wrong, you got a morale problem, you're not hitting your earnings, you're failing miserably your customers, don't blame your center manager, don't blame your division manager, don't blame your district manager, don't blame the Teamsters. Blame the person who's at top that's making, $20 million a year or whatever she's making. And I recently, I've met her once when I first took over. And, it's like anything else. We want to work together. We want to be partners, blah, blah, blah. Well, they want to be partners and work together when it's convenient for them. And when you're making 20, 30 million, whatever you're making in stock option, and I don't even know what her salary is, and you're trying to buy people out of their jobs, I got a better bad idea. Let's just take a haircut, every bigwig at UPS. Give us card check neutrality for all your scab non-union subsidies, and we'll go in our respective corners and come out when there's a good fight to be had.
Agree with that.
Agreed.
Okay, I just went to my guy over here. $24 million she made last year.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
Right?
She's the worst CEO they've ever had.
But why are people not calling her out? Why isn't the board saying, "Hey, we haven't hit our earnings. You keep promising we're going to hit our earnings. We've lost customers, right? You're not living up to your obligation. You're going to be in a fight with the biggest union in the country. What the fuck?"
She's playing the game of wait till you see how this turns out. It's a shell game. There's no substance at the end.
And I'm not a person that wants to attack anybody personally, because this isn't about personally. But when you're trying to come after our members, when you're trying to buy them out of their jobs, when you're not investing in the company that is paying you the $28 million per year or $24 million per year, I mean, what is the ultimate motive here? Is the ultimate motive is to get out of the package delivery business and focus on this new tech roadie or this new $4 billion per year research and development in the medical? I mean, what is the ultimate goal here?
It almost seems like the game plan is how Amazon is with the subcontractors and trying, that's a tougher area to organize, obviously.
Well, they're independent contractors. I mean, we have gotten some good decisions in California with the joint employer rule. But, again, UPS wants to badmouth Amazon. They want to badmouth FedEx. But they're doing the fucking same thing.
And when we struck Amazon, they were the ones that were delivering the trailers to them. They would cross the picket line with their management team. So they're doing they're working against themselves.
It's a den of thieves. Yeah. I mean, that's when you really, when you really look at it. So if we went into your center and you're where right now? What center are you at?
Watertown right now.
Watertown, right?
Yep.
Which Watertown has probably been one of the oldest buildings under Local 25, right? What if we went up to a 20-year package car driver and said, "How do you feel about UPS compared to when you started here 20 years ago?" What are they going to say?
They told me that it's not the same. It's not the same. Back in the day, it was way better. The way it's a joke now. Yeah. They're feeling like it's not the same as. And Sean, don't get me wrong, they had driving automatic truck, but they say I'd rather be driving stick and be the same before. It's like Tony, the CEO, that lady, I don't know who's freaking, I don't want to know the name.
We call her Carol.
Yeah.
All the money to me, Tome.
Yeah. Yep.
All the money to me, Tome. -me.
Exactly.
Says Tome.
Exactly. They feel like soon as she took over, everything changed.
Yeah.
And they started searching for her. They say she came from.
Do you remember when the labor department that for UPS, they called the shots?
Yep.
UPS labor people sat down, negotiated the contracts with us. UPS labor people basically controlled operations as far as you can't do that in operations because it violates the contract. That wasn't the intent of the language. Even though we used to fight with the labor people right now, labor in this company, the labor people, and it's funny, when we were in negotiations, I've represented UPS for 22 years. I've been in 4 national agreements and negotiated the last one. You would always look across the table and recognize 80% of the people sitting across from you. Now, they've completely diminished the labor department, which has backlogged grievances all over the country. Issues are not getting resolved. Labor people are not responsive. And when they are responsive, they're being overruled by operators within the building saying, "Fuck labor." They don't know what they're talking about. And operators are not at the negotiating table. Operators do not know what was agreed to. Operators do not participate in the negotiations, but yet they're going to interpret our contracts, and labor doesn't do anything about it. Talk about that.
Well, what's going on now is the division manager overrules labor, and it's amazing because we continually go down to a panel and kick their ass on a case. I could just give you just on discharges alone, the division managers cost the company $100,000 in back pay, even though labor was telling them don't put the case on. But they have no idea what's going on. They don't know anything about collective bargaining. Just Cause or anything. You know, they just sit there and labor's sick of it. You know, they just roll their eyes because they have no authority anymore.
They roll their eyes and they don't do anything.
No.
It's the same thing week in and week out. We go in, we process grievances, we handle what can get paid out, and lately there's a brick wall on everything, whether it's Soup's work and the 9-5s, the elevated meetings. They're taking positions that they hadn't in the past, saying we've met every operational need to fix the excessive overtime or to fix the Soup's work. And then you say, okay, how many people did you hire for summer casual period where you could hire carte blanche as many people as you want and they don't attain seniority? How many temps did you hire to come fill the work, make sure you don't violate 9-5? In our building in North Reading, not a small not a big building, but just an example, a building with 70, 85 drivers, you got to cover 15, 16 vacations, and they hire one casual employee.
So who's filling the vacations? I can remember back in the day, they would flood the place on, in the vacation period with casuals. And those casuals usually came from part-time ranks that would go out, opportunity. It was actually a good program because it got people trained up, or people would decide, hey, this job's not for me, I'm going to stay in part-time. But it gave people an opportunity to say, hey, this is good. This is something I want to do.
That's right.
And, I remember the biggest problem was the dues, because they wouldn't tell us who went full-time, and then they go in full-time, and we're trying to figure out who's where, because there was so many people. And now we're talking about one person, and who's doing that work? I'll tell you who's doing the work. They're taking it and they're putting it more work on the other package car drivers who are not on vacation. And it's a disgrace. I mean, look, the reality of it is going to be this. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. We're going to continue to come up with programs as far as contract enforcement, engaging the membership. But the technology is a real threat to us. I mean, 100%. outside of management not being capable or qualified to manage the business, technology, we spent a lot of time in negotiations on technology. And remember, prior to this agreement, we had language in that contract that just said, the company's obligation is basically notify the union 6 months in advance with no teeth. So in other words, if we didn't agree with what they were doing, they would just implement it. We wouldn't do it. We took a page out of the change of operations book where we negotiated language that when we don't agree with technological changes, that they're subject to the arbitration process. And we have a complete team dedicated every single week. They're monitoring these shut and guts. And I think one's opening up shortly somewhere. I forget the location. But we are looking to capture jobs as a result of technology. I mean, look, we all know technology is coming. You can't stop it to a certain point, but there is an obligation to create jobs as a result of it. And that's what we achieved in the negotiations. And that's what we're doing every single day. But the real point is the enforcement of the technology language. It's getting people out there, getting business agents and stewards to recognize what work we can capture as a result of it. What do you see technology?
Well, it seems even when they implement it, like sorting, they have a sorting machine, you know what I mean? But it doesn't seem to eliminate the jobs because they usually screw it up, and then you need the Teamsters there to fix it, So we haven't had too many technological changes in our area, but obviously you got to have our eye out for it.
Yeah, no, it's a big threat. What are our members saying about that on the shop floor?
Basically, I'm not hearing nothing about with the technology. They be thinking.
I mean, because you haven't been subject to it like Atlanta, Georgia,
Exactly.
or other places where I've been in sorts, and there's a new building in Southern California where they have an automated sort, right? But there's still Teamsters there moving the bags,
Correct.
the bags, but there's other opportunities within that technology. I mean, the biggest thing that I see that's fucking irritating as fuck is these, bulk carts just driving through these buildings, and that 9 out of 10 times they screw up all the time. And it's like, okay, those are jobs, but who's actually programming these bulk carts? Who's maintaining these bulk carts? I mean, those are jobs that we should be, and we are going to go after. And instead of people being online nitpicking, saying, well, this job, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Why don't you join the team and point out, you're in there every single day, where we can capture jobs, like we did it with the specialists. Think about this. We threatened to strike UPS at Local 89, which is the biggest air hub in the country. And we leveraged that to get 5,000 men and women accreted that were considered specialists to our UPS national agreement. Significant movement. And we're organizing every single week through the neutrality system. But instead of like criticizing, instead of like pointing fingers, and that's the very few, I think this is a time where everybody should be in those buildings, including the business agents, including the stewards, and they should be identifying what actually could be Teamster jobs. Where could we create and help create those 7,500 jobs? Is there opportunities in these buildings?
I think there's plenty of opportunity. Just going back to the technology with the bulk cots. I mean, we got them up in Chelmsford, and the first time they rolled them out, they were crashing into things. They had to shut it down, and then it took weeks to get it back up and running. The specialist was a good deal. We got a few of up in Chelmsford, and I know in my Somerville building we got one. But there was one person that didn't want to do it, and she ended up just losing her job in the South Boston building when they shut it down.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, she didn't want to sign a card.
Why was that?
She just said she was all set.
I mean, look, think about this. We got 5,000, the ability to organize 5,000 people, right? We've got about 2,700 organized, or 2,600 right now. And there's some local unions that won't go out there and organize them. And there's some people out there that are specialists that have been there saying, well, I don't want to really join the union. Well, if you see what's going on right now with UPS, what they're trying to do to us, this should be the most motivation. Anybody that's not covered under a collective bargaining agreement in UPS should be contacting us saying we don't want to fall victim to what management is doing, and we have no protections. I mean, think about if that girl signed the card and she joined the union.
Yeah, I mean,
which she'd have a job. She would
have
have
a
to follow
job.
the work,
Yep.
right, to where either Watertown or Somerville or what's Saugus.
Saugus as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, traditionally, some of the admins, at least in our area, have historically been with the company 15, 20, 25 years. And when we approach them, they're scared to death.
But think about this. We negotiated, pensions for these folks that they don't have.
That's right.
I remember being in a meeting, and I think you might have been in the meeting. Guy's name was Don Carlsberry.
I remember Mr. Carlberg.
Carlsberg, right? I'm in the meeting screaming at him because he's trying to fire one of our members. And I'm like, basically giving him the same shit. You piece of shit. You fucking are not firing our members. Blah, 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 blah. I go, you know what? You need to be fucking fired. And he fucking flipped out. And he's like, can I talk to you alone? I'm like, sure. He's like, this is like 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He's like, you were in there with me, remember? He's like, why are you threatening my job? I'm like, oh, I'm not threatening your job. I said, my opinion is you fucking suck as a manager. And he wasn't a bad guy. He was having a bad day. He goes, I suck as a manager? I go, yeah, you suck as a manager. He says, when I fucking took management, he said, they told me 4 things. 1, I'd be a millionaire. That's a fucking lie.
Right.
2, they told me I'd never have to pay for my health care. I'm paying for my health care more than I've ever paid. 3, they told me I'd have a pension. They cut my fucking pension. Yeah. And he says, and last, which is the worst, they told me I'd never have to worry about my job security. They threaten my job every fucking day. I says, too bad you're not a Teamster anymore, huh, big guy? And that was it. We walked out. But that is true and accurate.
100%.
It sure is.
There was a time 20 years ago where people would put a letter in. Think about this. They'd put a letter in to get promoted to management and would always find out who it is. And they were like, it was like kind of watching a movie in prison, the sneaky little rat snitch. Everybody knew who it was. Like they'd be kind of like over there, but they already got their letter in. And so they were trying to like just disassociate themselves from the group because everybody knew they were going to fucking rat someone out. And there'd be a waiting list of these people to get promoted. Now they can't even get anybody from rank and file to even go into management. They're hiring people off the street that have never delivered a package, never worked on a preload, but yet they're going to tell you the 6 months on the job that how to do your job efficiently in the right proper ways.
It's funny. It's like a Muppet show now with these guys coming right off the street. I mean, like I said, trying to sit in there with a grievance hearing or a disciplinary. I mean, they have no idea how to deliver a package. And usually you're sitting in there with a guy that's been there 25 years, knows everything about package delivering. You know what I mean? And it's comical, to be honest with you.
And this isn't just a problem that's specific to the Northeast.
No, it's
this is a
structural.
national problem. So, what we're going to do is have other business agents and stewards from other regions come on and talk about this. And I guarantee you, anybody that's watching this is going to know or going to understand what we're talking about, especially our rank and file members that work at UPS every single day. I mean, I don't see it's going to get any better unless we take some bold action.
100%. We just got to keep pushing, educate the members, file the grievance, hold the company accountable to the contract.
If you're a stockholder in UPS, and I don't know if anybody is, I'm clearly not a stockholder. We have pensions, right?
I sold all my
I
stuff.
sold that quick.
Yeah, you sold it quick.
Quick.
Yeah,
She came in, the CEO, I was like, whoop, quick.
Did you?
Yeah, quick.
You doubled down and got out of it? No kidding.
Throw the broke.
Told the broker?
Yeah.
Who, E.F. Hutton? Is that what you did? E.F. Hutton?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but I mean, if you're a stockholder and you're not hitting and the company's not hitting their earnings, right? And you're on the board of directors at UPS, clearly their stock's taking a hit. Everybody's stock's taking a hit. I mean, if you're not doing your job consistently and you're not performing at the highest levels, what happens?
You lose your job.
You lose your job.
Or you're held accountable anyways.
Well, held accountable. Your stock's tanking, right? You're not hitting your earnings, but you're getting bonuses and you're getting increases in your pay. That doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. Does it to you?
No, absolutely not.
Talk about the pandemic, right? UPS made $100 billion. They were flying because everybody was sitting home, not being able to go to the store, not being allowed out, all these restrictions. Yeah. And our members at UPS, with all other industries we represent, were deemed essential workers, right?
Yep.
And they made $100 billion profit that year. Yeah. $100 million earnings. I don't know what the profit was at the end of the day, but it was significant.
It was obscene.
It was obscene. And everybody was loving the UPS drivers. And we did a good job of highlighting the fact that it's not just about the UPS drivers, it's about the part-timers that are going in early, 4 a.m, loading those trucks. Those are the unsung heroes. They're in there at the end of the shift, unloading those trucks. And then you've got the feeder drivers, feeding buildings, feeding this country, pretty much. And everybody was deemed an essential worker. And everybody was fat, everybody was happy. But more importantly, I think the general public got such a eye-opening experience on how important and valuable our UPS members are to this country. And there was and I think there still is, such an appreciation for your UPS drivers who are in the neighborhoods or in the commercial areas delivering products, that what would the consumer say now who doesn't really pay attention to, UPS and how they treat their employees? If we were able to actually captivate all the issues, right? Or capture all the issues and actually get a captive audience meeting with the general public who you see every single day, what do you think their reaction to their UPS driver working excessive overtime, not being able to go home to their families, having that fundamental work-life balance, right? Knowing that they are getting harassed and retaliated on and there's retribution, knowing that UPS is trying to diminish good full-time jobs, which further is going to make me as a consumer or customer wait that much longer and or not get my time commitment that was promised me when I hit that button to ship with UPS. What do you think the general public would say if we were able to captivate the whole audience, which we're going to try and do? And I think that's how we're going to solve a lot of these problems. What do you think they're going to say about UPS and the UPS reputation? And I want to hear it from every one of you.
Well, I think the public, they always loved the UPS driver. I mean, that was apparent back in 1997 when we struck. We had major public support because everyone loves the UPS driver. And during COVID, we delivered everything for them, food, supplies, and just the interaction with them. And it's unfortunate now the way the company's being run is a lot of times the UPS drivers has to explain that the package, that's the first time they had it to deliver them when it's in the system and they're not getting it to the customer. The company's not providing the service that they pay for. So I think it's a two-way street. A lot of times now our drivers are trying to explain that, hey, look, it isn't my fault. It's the company. They're not, putting the load on here. They're not, the misloads are a mess and they're just not providing the service they once did. But I think the general public really, really likes a UPS driver.
Oh,
No, good.
basically, Sean, the public, they always look us, when it was on the pandemic, I look like a hero.
I think you still look like a hero.
And I was walking very,
You were looking jacked. Walking
yeah,
out, 10 feet tall.
there was a lot of love. They really love UPS. They knew we was putting a life on the line, and they really appreciate it. The company I never started from the company. We was coming here, bringing the medicine, and they appreciate all the UPS. I felt that it was, so we look like we was zero, 100%.
Yeah, now the company looks at us like zeros.
Yeah.
You go from hero to zero in their eyes. But let's talk about the general public. Let's talk about the customers who you see every day on your route. Like, do they know what's going on with UPS? Do they ask you, why is my delivery late? Or do they say, what is going on with this concept? I checked, I was tracking my package, it said it was delivered, but you're coming here 2 or 3 hours later, 4 hours later. What's going on?
They are complaining, asking why was going on this, and we tell them the company's not hiring people, and they're like, why? And I was like, it's the company. So, they're not. If they start hiring, everything goes smooth. We are working.
Well, if they start hiring, filling jobs, they don't have an argument from us saying, hey, you're not living up to your obligation on the contract. They're actually solving another problem of excessive overtime because they're putting more people out on the road, divvying up the work, getting people home on time, right? So for me, it's a no-brainer. And I love when they say, it's the cost, it's the cost, it's the cost. You are earnings of $90 billion plus per year. Like, don't tell me it's about cost. It's about taking a little bit more taking less on your bottom line, investing in your people, investing in the business that you were able to build all these other scab subsidiaries as a result of the hard work of Teamsters for the last 60 or 70 years or however long UPS has been union. And instead, they want to cry victim. What do you think the general public would say?
Sean, I drove a package car for over 20 years. I had many different routes. I had great customers from residential areas to commercial areas, and there's a deep relationship, a deep personal relationship between the driver and their customer, and it's always been there. And it's the driver that goes out and represents the company. It's not the fucking CEO. It's not anybody on the board of directors. It's the rank and file who have that daily interaction that depend on their driver, whether it's the diapers for their newborn kid, their medication for their grandfather. That's what we've been doing for this company forever. And if people truly saw how the sausage is being made now, they'd be sick. They would be sick.
And, we obviously want as many people shipping with UPS because it's jobs. But at a point in time when they're trying to crush our jobs, when they're trying to diminish them, we can't fall in love with our captor anymore.
No,
and that's the reality of it. And, I still think, UPS has an opportunity here to do the right thing. I mean, we always tell people after we negotiate and ratify the agreement, we should be thinking the next day what we want in the successor agreement. Our successor agreement expires 2028. Now, if you remember, we were in negotiations and we did a year-long campaign, and we were very transparent, and we also stated our intentions publicly on what we were looking to achieve during these negotiations. And we achieved everything we set out to achieve. And the next day, we were pinpointing as an organization, all right, where's UPS going to first violate? Where are they going to take a position that, and it was, historic when they came out and said, we're going to lay off 20,000 Teamsters. Now, the biggest thing for us is jobs, right? Mm-hmm. This historic agreement we negotiated, and their first order of business is to blame us for negotiating such a strong contract, $30 billion, and they'll say it's not $30 billion, it's $30 billion. They'll blame us for raising their rates. Well, we have to pay our people. Okay. But if you notice, they didn't take a haircut on their stock. They kept rewarding their stockholders. And they didn't take a haircut in executive pay. So you look back and go, why are you blaming the Teamsters? Stop the greediness, live up to your obligation under the contract, and then you have no problem with us. And I said this, which is probably not popular, when we were in a meeting recently, and I laid into the company about all the bullshit. And it's funny, UPS at one time had an answer for everything. When you would go into a meeting, you've been in many meetings. Oh, yeah. You've been in many meetings, and you start arguing with UPS over an issue. They always had an answer. But when you're saying you are operating roadie out of the buildings you closed down, no, we're not. Yes, you are. That was it. Why do you not give us contract neutrality, organized roadie? Well, it's an app-based business. Okay, well, we can get on an app and you can control the work and create 22-3 jobs with roadie. Well, they deliver like appliances or whatever they're delivering. Well, our members, a young kid on the preload would love a shot at a full-time job to go work the preload and then go deliver appliances. We can do that. I'll get back to you on that. And what about your medical building? We've got a unit that we organized in California, and you fought so hard. Matter of fact, we won, and you're going to the Supreme Court to get it vacated. You want to be our partners. You want to be our friends. You want to work together. And I said this, which is probably not popular. I said, there's no such thing as being half pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. And they were just looking like, and I said, look, and I said this to them, and I want them to hear this because before we concluded the meeting, I said, you got to ask yourself, where are you most vulnerable right now? What is that supposed to mean? Where are you most vulnerable? Where do you think, if we can't correct these problems through the grievance procedure, if we can't correct these problems with the competition committee or all these committees we have, are you looking at where, we can find a crack in your armor where we can make an example out of what you're not doing and how we're going to make you do it? Is that a threat? Oh, no, I'm just asking you. It's a question. Where are you most vulnerable? And that's what people are going to be thinking right now. Where is UPS most vulnerable?
Oh, with the general public is really where the most
stock.
vulnerable in the stock.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's the solution to the problem?
No. I'd love to strike this company, and that's coming in 2028 if they don't fix things.
I got the two best president and the BA, so I'm ready. Y'all let me know. Look, I'm sitting with all the best.
You are such a little kiss.
I'm ready. No, I'm not listening.
You got Tom Murray
No. Listen.
You got Tom Murray sitting up there.
He's my.
You seen him come
listen, he's the commander.
And Tom Murray's doing a great job.
Yeah, I got two commanders.
Two commanders.
Yeah.
All right, good.
And I learn from the best.
You learn from the best.
So I'm ready.
You're ready, huh?
I'm ready. I'm
straight out of the DR.
There you go. Dominican
Republic, baby. What about you, Joe?
You know as well as anybody, Sean, we're battle hardened in Local 25. So every month we're at the panels putting on cases. Every time we get there, we're winning discharge cases. But they're having a slog through these language cases, knowing that it's a slow grind. All we got to do is keep putting our heads down. And like you said, that, next contract can't get here fast enough because we know where we're going to end up.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt about it. So
there's no doubt. And they were lucky last time around because if we didn't get the deal that we got, we could have done the easiest thing to do last time was to strike them. Think about it. Oh. You're coming in, new leadership, all right, and an enthused membership because there's new leadership, and the first biggest victim could have been UPS. Now, UPS knew that, and I think that's why we got the threat of the strike was more important than the actual action because at the time we're in a great spot. We had members that were, and I believe we still do have all the members on board. You're always going to get a few that aren't. And we were doing practice picketing and everything else. And they knew that we were serious. We were going to strike them. The easiest thing for us to do as a new leadership team would have been like, all right, fuck them, we'll strike them. Let's fuel our own egos. Let's talk about our legacy. We struck UPS. It wasn't the right thing to do. We got the best deal we got, and ratified by 86%. We had the largest turnout in voters from our members participating in it. But I can guarantee you that it's never going to happen again. UPS is not going to make liars out of us, because what we told our members, what we achieved, and we believe it, is what's in that contract, and UPS needs to live up to that agreement. So stay tuned. I appreciate everybody coming out today to talk about this. We are going to make UPS an example of what you shouldn't do when you agree to a contract with the Teamsters Union.
Can't get here fast enough, boss.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, wait. So I always do this on every episode. If you could have lunch with someone, who would that someone be?
My cousin who passed away
Okay.
a couple of years ago in a bad crash.
My grandfather. He passed away 105. If I could have the opportunity, I am who I am because of my grandfather. He made me who I am.
I'd want to talk to my dad and mom again.
All right, if it's someone that wasn't deceased, because I said my same answer was I would like to have a conversation with my father one last time. It'd probably be a fucking argument, but he'd tell me he'd tell me you were too easy on this employer or whatever it was, or no, he was the man. He was the best. Who would it be?
Muhammad Ali.
Why?
It was just interesting. I think he was a leader, a man of principle. He went against went against the grain. And I like people like that.
I would say Martin Luther King, because basically he changed and he put his life to stand for the right, to change everything. He was a great leader. I admire him. And look at that, like even Sean, you put like on January we get that day off on UPS.
Yeah, we got that holiday, right?
You
and
did
it was
it
great.
amazing.
It was
Or,
great.
you know,
Do you know how? So they were at the table, and they were pushing back on Martin Luther King Day. They were pushing back on Juneteenth, and we knew we were going to get one of the two of them. But I think Martin Luther King was, a great argument because he was an icon civil rights leader. Died on his way to support striking workers in a sanitation strike, which we have a huge sanitation strike going on right now at Local 25 and throughout the country. But that was significant because when UPS was pushing back on it, I said, this is going to be great public relations for us. The majority of our employees are people of color, right? And your slogan is, what can Brown do for you? And I said, this is going to be great. I can't wait to run with this. And they were like sitting across the table. I said, I want an answer by the end of this day today, whether you're going to give us that holiday or not. If you're not going to give it to us and we're not trading it off for anything else, then be prepared tomorrow. There is going to be a statement put out how UPS is a racist company. And by the end of that day, they had agreed to Martin Luther King Day. Now, what people don't realize, and again, you get Martin Luther King Day, and you get other people say, oh, Martin Luther King Day is great, but what about Juneteenth? And I said, maybe next time. I said, but do you know the cost? What Martin Luther King Day costs as a paid holiday through the lifetime of this agreement? Do you know the cost?
No, Sean.
What do you think it is?
Probably, I would say, probably $1 billion.
Oh.
I don't know the cost. I just know just in doing the contracts and trying to get a holiday, it's a big deal because it's a big cost.
What do you think it costs?
Between 400,000 employees, 350,000 employees. I don't know, maybe $300 million.
It was a $500 million cost in negotiations. And plus all the wages, the benefits, and the improvements. That was a significant gain, Who would you have lunch with?
You might think this is weird, but I saw him on your podcast and I was kind of fascinated by him, was Josh Hawley.
Oh, Josh, yeah, he's doing a lot of good work for us.
He's an interesting guy, and
he's a Republican.
He's a Republican, but
like you.
I'll tell you this: after watching your interview with him and seeing him, questioning CEOs and people in Congress, I think Democrats should be scared of him.
Well, it's not only that, but one of the things we've been
middle-of-the-road
focused on as a union since we took over, not because of the recent presidential election, is working bipartisan across the aisle to get things done. And we've been successful. As a matter of fact, Josh Hawley, who's a Republican, and Cory Booker are going to be introducing legislation, which is a scaled-down version of the PRO Act, which is called the Faster Labor Standards Contract Act, which would would mandate employers to bargain within 10 days of certification of the bargaining unit, which would also mandate overtime. I mean, not overtime, mandate, I should say, you got me on overtime, mandate mediation and arbitration to get a first contract. Because you guys negotiate contracts for a living. First contract's always the most difficult one. And you're constricted by a time clock. You got 365 days before the decertification can happen. Meanwhile, the employer's working that whole time to divide that group. So that would be a huge, huge victory for labor. And we've got some Republican support. We've got some Democratic support. So he has been a true champion. And by the way, he is from Missouri, and anything that has to do with labor, he has been supportive of. Now, he was a guy when we first went to meet with him that embraced right to work. And we're like, why are you supporting right to work? Why would you support it? And when we actually had conversations and we could actually point to why right to work was bad for his constituents, our members that lived in Missouri, he basically came out and said, I'm not for right to work at all anymore. It's not good for my constituents. It's not good for my community. So conversations like that are important to have. Now, if you ask me who I would want to have lunch with outside of my father, be Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Snoop-a-loop.
I wouldn't smoke any weed with him.
I'm saying.
I've never smoked weed before. But the guy is hilarious. And the fact that he hangs out with Martha Stewart, I mean, this guy is the man. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah,
you know?
funny. He did a lot, man.
He's done a lot in
did.
the community. He's a big guy. He's very into his kids. He coaches his kids, and he's very proud of where he comes from. I mean, I'd love to meet him. Hopefully someday I will.
That's funny.
I'd use his line. I'd be like, what's crack-a-lackin', mac-a-lackin'? You know what I mean? All right, well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming on Better Bad Ideas. Does anybody want to give a shout out to on this podcast?
To my daughters, hello, ladies. Doing a great job.
Dad's a
Proud of
TV
you.
star now.
Yeah.
I give a shout out to my brother, my mom, Carmen Santana, and my sister, and my wife, Joanna Garcia.
That should have been the first, no?
The first is my mom.
Well, you can just say you're dyslexic.
Nah. My wife, my kids,
Excellent. What about you, Joe?
Most important woman I've ever known, my wife, next to my mother, and my 3 kids, Rosella, Liliana, and Philip, PJ, the best.
Good stuff. I'm
Great
surprised
kids.
you to go, I want to give a shout out to Tom Murray, my hero.
Oh, that's my boy.
My hero.
That's my boss.
All right. Thank you very much.